You know what the big problem with America is, particularly black America? Racism. Now, I'm not talking about fighting racism. I'm not talking about the issues of racism and what goes along with that, institutionalized racism. I'm particularly talking about the focus on racism. Because, see, if you look at it, right, many people immigrate to this country. It's a so called melting pot here in America, right? So you have Asian people who migrate to America. They deal with racism too. White people don't like them necessarily, but they don't focus on racism. What they focus on is strengthening family bonds, and they focus on enterprise and business. Therefore, they are able to stack $5 billion dollars and get a hate crime passed in 6 months while black people are waiting forever. Look at African people, people who come directly from Africa, right? They come to America, they don't focus on racism. They focus on strengthening the family. You know, 5 or 6 of them will stay in a one-bedroom apartment, and then 5 or 6 of them will be doctors and attorneys and things like that, because they're not focused on racism. Who else? Spanish people, right? So-called Latino or Latinx. They come here, come to America. They get discriminated against. They get treated like they're the low of the low. What do? They strengthen their family bond. They stay together. They build and forge businesses. Therefore, they have certain alliances where you can't really play with them. That's why you don't see them getting played with in the media, right? Because they focus on family and business. And think of any other group. Let's talk about the Jews, right? The Jews. We all see what they do. They focus on family, their religion, and business. They have their own stores. They have their own trucks. They have their own hospitals. They have their own school buses, right? So they don't worry about getting hate crime. They don't worry about getting their families getting taken out in the streets. You know, and again, white people discriminate against Jews too. The Klan don't like Jews, right? So whatever you focus on, basic law of attraction, whatever you focus on expands. Whatever you focus on grows. Whatever you focus on will become your reality. So when we see these things happening with police brutality or institutional racism or discrimination, we have to take note, and we have to learn from what other people have done, learn from the successes of what we've seen other so-called people that are oppressed gone through, and see how they handled it. Obviously, marching doesn't work. Obviously, protests don't work. Obviously, boycotts don't work. But we saw in 2021, Asian people get a hate crime law passed with a $5 billion backing, right, in less than 6 months. And we've seen black Americans go through hell with white people for tens and 20s and 30s and hundreds of years even. And we still have a consumer mindset. We still have a mindset of that someone's going to empathize for our plight, our Black Lives Matter slogan, right? That people are going to feel sorry and empathize, right? But people from other cultures know that it's a competition. They understand that racism is classism and that it's me or them. And I have to find a way to compete against all odds, even when the deck is stacked against me, even when there is racism, that I have the ability to compete. And one of the reasons that black people in America don't want to compete is because of the Black Wall Streets and the people getting slain, you know, the Martins and the Malcolms and, you know, all our freedom fighters and things like that getting, you know, decimated or destroyed. But the thing is, it's 2021. You have the internet. We have the computer. We have networks. We have groups. We have access to the wealthy, access to talks and speeches and inspiration and guidance and step-by-step programming to get to where we need to get the education that we need, and to strengthen our families, and to start really creating businesses, practical things that we need, like shoes, socks, shirts, juice, water, cars, sunglasses, practical headphones, practical things that we need, that we consume every day. Because if we keep focusing on racism, we keep focusing on what's happened to us, yeah, it's tragic, yeah, there's trauma, yeah, these things need to be fought, but we have to ask ourselves, are we repeating the same things over and over? Are we really fighting this fight effectively? Are we taking are we taking our are we gaining wisdom from the experiences of our past? Are we using the knowledge of our history effectively? Or are we just repeating our history over and over and over and continuously failing? We got to come to a point to where it's not about racism. It's not about focusing on what they're doing to us. It's not about the trauma of what they're quote unquote doing to us. 9 times out of 10, it's not even a us thing. It's just something on TV or it's just something in your neighborhood. And because you empathize because these people look like you think it's a us thing. But if we focused on family, strengthening our families, educating our families, healing from childhood trauma, learning about our true history, tapping into our original spirituality, our spiritual culture, tapping into again, doing the shadow work and healing so that we could heal our families, focusing on our children, focusing on black boys who are the future leaders, right? Black boys are reading at a 4th grade reading level. So we need to have systems and programs set up for them. It's very easy to see something on TV and complain and whine and make tweets about it. It's very easy to see some tragedy and gripe and complain and feel like, oh, they not going to help us, or these people don't love us. Okay, you know that. That's the reality. You know that. That's the situation. You know that that's what it is. Now, the next step is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you just going to keep crying and keep complaining and keep bitching? Or are you going to try to change things? If you couldn't this generation, well, this generation while you're alive, because while you got breath, you still have power to proceed and move forward. But are you going to do that to yourself and equip your children and equip the people in your family and equip your future generations and equip the people that you say you love, your partners, your wives, your husbands, your girlfriends, your boyfriends? We got to get down to business. Fuck racism. Racism isn't really the problem because every other culture has come here and seems to have overcome the scourge of racism, except Black Americans. Black Americans are so focused on getting what Massa has, so focused on being house Negroes and wanting to wear Massa's clothes and drive Massa's big car and live in Massa's big house, that they neglected that the real fight is to leave legacy. The real fight is to leave businesses that you pass on to your children. The real fight is to leave principles, morals, and virtues that your children can pass on to their children to make them stronger and more powerful people. There's never going to be a time where everyone likes you, right? I don't care what color you are. Black people, so-called black people, right? Melanated people don't even like each other. Let's keep it real. Light skin beefing with dark skin, weaves beefing with naturals, you know what I'm saying? Men beefing with women. It goes on and on, right? There's divide and conquer within our own community. And the same thing happens with Spanish people, with Dominicans don't like Puerto Ricans. The same thing happens with, even Albanians here, with certain parts of people from Russia don't like other parts of people from Russia. There's Asian people where the Japanese don't like the Chinese, right? We think everybody's united. You know what I'm saying? We think there's parts of people in Irish people that don't like people from Northern Ireland. Some don't like people from Southern Ireland, right? We think that because these people have business and because these people move forward in government and society, that they're united. That's the biggest trick in the book. Everybody doesn't have to be united, but you do have to have a certain class of people that are mobilized, that are organized, and that understand principles, morals, values that are going to advance the community, that are going to advance the so-called race, and more importantly, going to advance the children. And complaining and crying and griping and talking about racism all the time and talking about what the white man is doing and talking about how the white man is the enemy, that's not going to get you nowhere. That's been proven, that's been evidence, that's fact. We need to stop focusing on racism, and we need to focus on doing what we need to do for us. We need to start focusing on do for self. Racism is going to happen. People are not going to like you. People are going to hate on you. People are going to talk shit about you. We all know this. There's no escaping that. But if you're building, if you have a purpose, then those things go by the wayside. If you have a purpose, you're focused on your purpose. And that's what people who come to this country do. They focus on their purpose. Don't talk to me about no goddamn, they got special loans and all this and that. You live here in America. There's opportunities. There's options. There's ways to get it. You have a smartphone. You have a computer. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. So black people, y'all need to stop focusing on racism and focus on what really matters, which is family, business. America is a business. America is a corporation. So if you live here and you got family and you got friends and y'all ain't talking about family and y'all ain't talking about business and y'all ain't talking about legacy and y'all ain't talking about growth and y'all ain't talking about spirituality and y'all ain't talking about creativity, then you got the wrong friends, you got the wrong so-called black people around, and that we will continue, those of us that look like me, will continue to be a permanent underclass until we learn the lessons that we have literally right amongst us from other cultures. All right? Peace, power, and prosperity, y'all. Let's get it.